What is going on, y'all? How's it going? It's your boy Lieutenant Dan here. First time in a while, actually, that I've posted much and done really much because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm with it all. I've got all hands on deck, you know. Let me make sure that we refresh this before we really start. Okay, close that. Refresh the chat. Cool. Should have this moved here. And then I had some music that I thought I was going to play. Let me know if this is a little too loud. But I was just going to play some just easy music for us today, so we don't have too much going on. Christopher Sanders, what's going on, my man? Rise up, stay grounded. I hope you're doing well. Blizz, I hope you're doing well. Let me actually test this. Let me just test this real quick. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 3. Was the music good, guys? Just making sure I got this out to a degree that everybody can be able to see it. But that's up there. All right, cool. Haven't been doing this for a minute, so trying to figure it all out. Oh, it's really low. Let me, I'm sorry, guys. I'm immediately having an issue right off the bat. Let me actually fix something real quick. Sound settings. Recording, this one. Properties, levels. 27? Yo, that's crazy. 27's a little too low, huh? Don't you think? All right, I had to test that out. Sorry about that, y'all. Hey, yo, it's Lieutenant Dan. And he sucks at doing this whole thing. Oh, boy. Might even actually turn it up a little bit more. Let's turn it up to about 70. There we go. See if that works out for everybody. Okay. Mods in the chat, if you are in there and you're getting kind of through me being a doof head, I would appreciate it if you could let me know if the music is a little too loud. I'm going to turn it down on the bass here. Just to see if that works out for us. Oh my gosh. Anywho, how's it going, y'all? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. Blizz in the chat. Christopher Sanders, good to see you guys in the chat. Rise up, stay grounded. Make sure you guys share this out. All your friends and fam. I don't want any singing. What are these vibes? I'm not doing well, guys. No idea what I've done. I've opened up this video player and it's not good. That's fine. I'm at the edge of the cliff, ready to free fall, and that's how I'm doing. Okay, all right. Sure. Here's my thing. I'm going to do this the way that we used to do it back in the day. Okay? So you guys just hang in here with me. But we literally went out there and we said, okay, we cannot repeat the same mistakes of the past, right? So we go out and the Falcons, go out and they get rid of Ritter for a pick. They get rid of Haneke for what it's worth. They release Marcus Mariota because he's just Justin Fields without the experience, and then Justin Fields gets so happenly onto the Steelers offense, but whatever. Basically Marcus Mariota. And then what you end up having is the Falcons going, we're not going to repeat these same mistakes. We had Matt Ryan before, and we should have put somebody behind Matt Ryan to make this work. Let's go get Kirk. Kirk's expensive. Well, he's better than any other option that you have, and then you go and bring him into the fold while still falling in love with Michael Penix Jr. and going, it's just more important. But here's the part that gets me, and the part that I think kind of gets a few other people just absolutely blown out of their mind. You can have Michael Penix Jr. come and play for you right off the bat if he is ready. Even with the uncertainty of whether or not Michael Penix Jr. is going to be there at 8. And other teams will then end up utilizing that information, the battle of information, right? Utilizing information that the Falcons give you by saying they're not signing a quarterback in free agency. And you have a Kirk Cousins come in here while you fix up little things here and there, right? You fix up the things that need to be fixed up. I'm going to actually adjust this so it's down here like this. But you have a Kirk Cousins come in here, and he's not 100% healthy, whether that is mentally or physically or emotionally or whatever that may end up being at the end of the day. But you have a guy that's not physically ready to be able to play football. He comes out in the first week, and they say they're going to implement pistol, and they're going to implement a lower level of RPO because they know they're bullshitting you and me and everybody else around here that Kirk Cousins is not 100% healthy, and they were hoping that they would instill this offense, have Kirk in here to be the wise vet that can be able to translate the language quickly and be able to have success early. And then transition Michael Penix Jr. into that without having too much of an issue. The problem with that particular, thought process and actually making it work is implementing it. Because you got to implement this to a degree that not only does Kirk Cousins come out and play well against a team like the Steelers, who have a fantastic defense by the by, fan-frickin-tastic defense, by the by. I feel like I'm in some kind of space-aged vibe. Give me back to the synthwave, dude. I am baffled by this music selection right now. It's absolutely terrible. Killing me, dude. Gamers Lounge. I don't even know what this means. It's probably going to be chiptune, isn't it? Isn't it? So Kirk comes out in the first week for you against the Steelers defense, right? He comes out here the first week against the Steelers defense, and what does he end up doing? The plan is not in place. He's not mentally or physically healthy. Question marks about whether or not it's actually going to work. Even with Kirk Cousins coming out to you, the fan, and he tells you, oh, guys, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that, I'm injured. We just didn't execute. We didn't do the things we needed to do. You're right, Kirk. We didn't do the things that we needed to do. J.J. Watt completely blew up the right tackle that we all know, and we continue to say over and over and over and over because this is apparently my sticking point on all Falcons things is Caleb McGarry's ability to be the right tackle. Which brings in questions, by the way, of whether or not you think that the Falcons should go after a right tackle the next upcoming draft, but that's, here nor there, huh? So you sit here and you go, you know what, man? Okay, we had a bad week. Kirk Cousins completely got his shit pushed in, right? McGarry didn't do well. The whole line technically didn't really do well. But there were openings, there were creases, there were opportunities for you to be able to hit places. And so that execution, yes, could end up winning you the game and you could have started off 1-0. But after everything is said and done, your offensive line still looks like you're going to have to do some type of work, at least at right tackle. And maybe even future left tackle, depending on whether or not the Falcons are going to be high enough to be able to pick something in the upcoming draft. But, here nor there, right? But, Dan, it's too early to be talking about that kind of stuff. Look, listen. If you're going to get all high and mighty about whether or not we should be talking about the NFL draft in 2025 versus trying to dissect whether or not Caleb McGarry is going to get better than average at best, by the by, then I would rather talk about that NFL draft stuff, huh? Because we have tackle situations where eventually Jake Matthews isn't going to be here and a left-handed quarterback needs a much higher rated right tackle. So I'm confused as to what the direction of the organization is going to end up being, especially after, Judon departs. AK has not lived up to that performance. But let's get back to it. The Falcons end up losing 18-10 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then on top of that, they have Bijan Robinson go over 100 yards. Kirk Cousins looked as good as you can behind a line that obviously got dominated by Alex Highsmith and J.J. Watt. And I've heard it in, at least 15 or 20 different angles now from, at least 15 or 20 different sources on the media that are like, oh no, after 1 week, the Falcons already messed up and it was like we predicted it. The Falcons, they've just got a veteran and they should have just had only the veteran or only the rookie and they should have used the money somewhere else. And that's the first thing the media and first things the fans wanted to jump to, because the drama around the Atlanta Falcons is that there's drama. On any other team, on any other situation, based on how the NFL has kind of been morphing and growing and changing, you would go, okay, so there's not high expectations here, but at least maybe the vet can pull it through. And I think this offensive coordinator and Kirk Cousins are going to do great things as we continue to go through the year, especially when the schedule gets a little bit easier. We knew that week one was going to be, we knew week one was going to be Murderer's Row, but it at least was to some degree something we could say, hey guys, look, I know that week one Steelers looks like an easy matchup. But week one Steelers, we've always struggled against AFC opponents, is a difficult matchup, no matter whether we're there or we're in Atlanta. And so in a lot of cases, I look at the way the Falcons went out in week one and say, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, yo, here's the end of the Falcons going backwards. I'm going to sit here and say the Falcons have a fantastic chance to still go to the playoffs, win the NFC South, the NFC South, and do, wonders and wonders, but it's going to take a couple weeks. And now you've got Philly on Monday, the Chiefs on the Sunday following, and then I believe it's Tampa. You need to breathe. You need to prepare yourself. Tyler, what's going on, my man? Rise up, staying grounded. Hope you're doing well today. Share this out to your fam and friends who want to come listen to a little bit of just sensible Falcons talk. The sensibleness, by the way, is admitting to faults. Like, the Falcons put themselves in a sticky situation with the fans because the fans know that Kirk is a rental. And Kirk not being healthy with the amount of money that he's going to make, which is about, how much is he making? He's making like $40 million this year and like $40 million next year or something like that. And then his contract is pretty much avoidable after that. So this year and next year. So literally 16 more games and then a total of 17 next year, right? 33 games in total for Kirk Cousins unless we go to the playoffs, right? So I think if you sit here and you go, okay, Kirk Cousins is a 2-year rental that was going to cost us an arm and a leg no matter what we were going to do, but we had to have it, right? Because of the situation that we were in previously, you can't come out of Ritter and say, we're going to go with a rookie quarterback. Oh my gosh, everyone and their brother would have not only roasted the Falcons because they're like, oh, you didn't learn from your mistakes? And then the bottom line really is that on the flip side of that, if they were going to go to get a veteran, it was probably Kirk Cousins or nothing. So I think the Falcons sitting there going, you know, it's easy for us to take Kirk Cousins and be able to say, we don't want to be stuck in a situation where Kirk is gone and then we have to restart this whole thing all over. Let's go get quarterback. Now, I don't want to sit here and justify that to anybody in here. I just say that was the plan and that's the way that they did it because they fell in love with Penix and what he can do. Even as a left-handed quarterback, which I think is a disadvantage for this team right now based on its current situation. Right tackle is a issue. It's an average tackle at best. And if you have an average tackle, you can do wonders. But not if you're trying to learn a completely new offense that doesn't favor what you do best. Speaking of what you do best, Kaleb McGary is not a very good pass blocker. And we've known this for a very long time. Speed rushers have absolutely eaten his lunch, and guys who are on the elite level have made Kaleb McGary look like, I don't want to cuss too much, but a bitch. And you've got an all-pro right guard he can't be there the entire day to try to help you and not get feasted on. Even if you chip block, you have the wrong type of tight end. Speaking of the wrong type of tight end, segue. Kyle Pitts, what's up, dude? You caught a touchdown on Sunday, but everything else that you did was just like, it's like a fighter who knocks people out, right? But can only knock them out with a jab and has no ground game. And that's what it feels like to have Kyle Pitts as a tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. A guy who's not the greatest blocker and for whatever reason just seems to have a couple of mental gaps when it comes to aligning himself in the proper position and absolutely getting blown off of blocks by the by. And then next second, he catches a touchdown because he's a true receiver of the word when it gets down to it. And I honestly think that the Falcons should play that role and put him in a receiving position and say to Kyle Pitts, look, we're going to work on the blocking. We're going to work on you, the player, to be able to block. But for now, based on the contract that we're thinking about giving you in the near future, if we decide to keep you, we're going to play you primarily as a slot wide receiver or some type of number 2. It'll be Drake London, and then it'll be you, and then it'll be Darnell Mooney, and then everybody else after the fact. Maybe Casey Washington. I like that guy. Casey Washington is my G. That's my man's right there. Casey Washington is the G. But if you cannot get this team, especially the way that you're looking, because you want to be able to have that play action ability, and Kirk Cousins obviously is not doing well off of his right ankle to be able to do that play action ability. So what you end up having is the Atlanta Falcons not being able to do a portion of the playbook that Kirk Cousins does well. If the idea is that we're going to always be in pistol or we're always going to be in some type of I formation type of deal, play action in some way, shape, or form has to be utilized. It has to be breathed into the life of this defense and allow it to mature and allow it to focus. If you don't, and you don't do this simpleness, then you're never going to get edge defenders to bite. And you're always going to be running some type of running back draw. I don't have any problem with running back draw, but it's going to end up, giving you a really hard time. I don't think that Bijan Robinson's built for that. He's built for gap and zone, heavy blockers in front, and allow him to be able to burst out of the seams. I feel like I'm almost having some weird flashback to 2016 between Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman had the absolute burst and super speed, and Devontae Freeman was out here, juking people out of their shoes and running them over. And I think that that combination of running back out of those two guys into what Bijan Robinson is for you, you forced Bijan Robinson to go out there, and have all those carries to go over 100 yards, but then you left a guy like Tyler Algier, almost basically touchless when it came down to the, like who had the hot hand type of deal. And you really didn't use Drake London in any capacity at all. Technically, at the end of the day, you should be drawing up something out of the script. But since we're currently sitting at a point where we're learning an offense because we didn't instill it during the preseason, or at least to some degree you were trying to go through the motions of Kirk's health as well as go through the motions of the script and how the offensive structure works. There are so many holes to the way that this thing has started, and I think it's tough to swallow and admit that the new coaching staff is not perfect. They're not perfect, but that leads me to the next part of this conversation, which is that this defense ate. I think there is something to be discussed when it comes to this defense. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all, watching right now, or maybe, we're watching on Sunday, but how many of y'all actually ended up doing the Judon celebration when he got his sack? How many of you were, really excited to see Grady Jarrett out there making plays? Just freshly signed Justin Simmons out there making a whole heap of plays, and of course, they didn't even really want to technically throw it the other way at Jesse Bates. I mean, I think that AJ being paid is a little much for me. It's rich, but it solidifies a corner that, even if he's Robert Alford, or he can be some form of Desmond Trufant for you, then maybe you're okay. And you can go into the next draft going, if tackle has to be the number one pick, at least we have a corner set on one side. If tackle doesn't have to be the number one pick and we can go get something else, then maybe corner is a first round type of deal. I feel sad that we're not going to be able to get to see Braylon Trice. I don't know how many of you guys in the live chat right now that are listening, have an opinion on it, but no Braylon Trice makes me the saddest little boy. I mean, you have Matthew Judon out here, really going out and, showing you something in his 30s. And what it would have been like to have Braylon Trice on the other side, because AK is just not my cup of tea. I'm sorry. I was very, very into the whole AK idea and allowing like a rookie to get that opportunity, those moments. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me because I feel like sometimes this pass rush, even though it's manufactured, even though it's like kind of generated, it's not a bad pass rush at all. You bring different pieces, different places, and I mean, you've got a penetrating front three. It's not a traditional 34, right? It's not a traditional 34, and on top of that, you are actually going out and you're creating pressure with... Sometimes it's 5 guys, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4, and they drop off guys here and there, and I just think that having Grady Jarrett, Judon, Onyemata, Zach Harrison, Katavius Street. I mean, you could create interior pressure for quite a little bit of time. Is it truly like a bad thing to invest in a defensive end in this coming draft class? I don't think so. But I think this class is a bit weak where the Falcons will potentially end up being placed in the, say they're going to be in the 20s. I don't know how far the Falcons are going to end up actually going at the end of the day, but I can tell you this much is that they have an opportunity to be able to win the NFC South, and they have an opportunity to right the ship this week against the Eagles. But I don't know how many of the people that are currently in this chat right now believe that after watching what they watched on Sunday that this team can even score more than 3 touchdowns. I mean, let's not be coy here. The Falcons were quite a little ways away from actually scoring multiple touchdowns, but had the first actual drive where they scored a field goal turned into a touchdown in any way, shape, or form, and then, of course, the Pitts touchdown on top of that, maybe the Falcons are in here maybe talking about 14, 21, maybe even 28. Blizz comes out and says, not a fan of the game plan. If Cousins is not healthy enough to run the full offense, he needs to sit. And I don't disagree. I think a lot of people in here maybe need to warm up to the idea of Michael Penix Jr. getting to play a little bit sooner. Maybe that is the key here, is to allow Michael Penix Jr. to go out and play the next couple of games or something like that. Yeah, you'll lose to the Chiefs and you'll lose to Philly. Maybe you win against Philly with Michael Penix Jr. That would be kind of wild. But I don't know. I feel like if Kirk is healthy enough to go, then a touchdown like you saw to Kyle Pitts is going to happen. Kirk scrambled out of the pocket, and he threw a really great ball into the end zone to Kyle Pitts. I don't know what you guys want more of then. Because, overall, the game plan wasn't what I thought it should be. I wasn't even expecting the Rams offense. I was just expecting just not old Falcons offense. And it's definitely not the old Falcons offense. It's a little foreign to me. I'm having to kind of look at plays a little bit differently. But I like the combinations and the routes that they're running and the things that they're doing. They just need to execute a little bit more. I think even with Kirk 100% healthy, they're going to need to execute very quickly, because I don't think they're going to have a lot of time with Caleb McGarry blocking for them. I know I'm being a bit harsh on Caleb McGarry, and maybe I need a slap on the wrist and be like, hey, stop being a stupid fan and just being a hater. But I don't see a vote of confidence here with Drew Dahlman or with Caleb McGarry for the long-term future of the Atlanta Falcons. I believe they're going to have to go find replacements for that, and then to really elevate the defense to the next level, they have to go get an edge, and they have to go get a CB2 that are going to be long-term solutions for them, not just short-term, we have enough money to scrape by and put a couple people in there. I think they really need to heavily have the conversation of this next draft being a three-way race between, well, I mean, I could even go four-way race, but three-way specific race between having the top edge linebacker that you can put on the field, corner, and either tackle or center, whatever is closer to them at this particular time. Maybe that's also just a little bit of the haterade too, like I was saying, and you sit here and you go, whether it's Christopher or Blizz or Tyler, or if you're watching right now and haven't said hi in the chat, please make sure you do. I'd love to be able to shout out your name. There seems to be some latency between the two ends. but I'm doing my best. But I like what the Falcons are putting together right now, but it's going to need to be a real heavy look at where the Falcons are going to be in the draft class and whether or not they believe that it's almost time for Penix to start. I think they're happy with what they saw and believe that he will be a great quarterback. At least that's evident enough in the way that I've watched the first game. I thought the first game was plenty of evidence for me to say that Kirk is going to be just fine. But Penix, I think, is going to end up being the once the bridge is over, Penix is going to come out and we're going to be shown, oh, we have a stud back here. Jordan Love is questionable for Sunday's game. And Hollywood Brown goes to IR. News that just popped up just a second ago. I watched this game, and I don't know if I have the energy to really just start yelling and screaming and whining and moaning and complaining about all the things and the promises and all of the this is going to be different and this is going to be a change and this is going to be da-da-da-da-da-da. I think the Falcons need to go out over these next 5 weeks and go and execute. But there's nothing that I can say really of change in week 1 losing by 8 points. There's really not much that, someone like myself can go out and say because, I was Team Ritter when it was, Marcus Mariota and Heineke and Ritter all kind of sitting in there, and the situation being that Mariota is unplayable and Heineke is a flash in the pan from the old Washington regime, thinking that they had found themselves, a superstar and or somebody that could be your next Fitzmagic and win you a couple of games here and there. So the only choice was to go and play Ritter. Unless you were going to go out to the free agent market at the time. And as somebody that advocated for Ritter to start and be able to end up playing and eventually failing, I don't really think I have the room to be able to sit here and go, I think Kirk Cousins is fine and that he's going to get through this injury over this entire season. And as long as he stays healthy, I don't see any reason why he won't return to form and start finding rhythm with Pitts and London when the offensive line also calms down. Because I think they were also a bit jumpy, a little bit scatterbrained, almost as if it was like a preseason game for them, like a lead-up game. We don't have time for lead-up games anymore. It's time to get into full swing. Week 1's gone. You already took an L. Now you got to go into an Eagles game that I don't want to start this bit. I don't want to start this bit where we get all, oh, guys, oh my gosh, no way. The Atlanta Falcons, they're gonna go in and they're gonna throw all of these more interceptions and more pieces because we just suck. I don't want to sit in that realm of negativity, but I also can't sit here and be able to sell to any of y'all's based on what happened to me last couple of seasons. To go, Kirk Cousins is going to be fine and it's going to be all the way through the entire season for him to be able to get to that point. And that there will be ample room for Michael Penix Jr. to potentially start. D-Pat, what's going on, my man? Rise up, stay grounded. Hope you're doing well. If you want your name to be shouted out in the chat, please, by all means, do. Comment down below and say hello, and I will say hello back. But I'm definitely not going to sit here and be like, all right, it's time to start Penix. It's time to start. This is exactly what I wanted to happen when Matt Ryan was here back in 2016, 2017, when the Falcons had some opportunities to potentially pick up a good quarterback or at least train somebody of worth and value behind Matt Ryan so that eventually the successor could take over. Now the Falcons have done that. It just so happens to be, unfortunately, that it's not a... it's a tough pill to swallow or tough medicine to swallow when you come from being completely sick and completely downtrodden to actually having to learn how to walk again and actually learn how to breathe again and actually learn how to act proper in the NFL once more. Because yes, the Kirk deal, as far as money is concerned, formalities and technical aspects, seems to start being like a fumble if you start hyperboling it that way and start trying to condense every single game into the reasoning for said contract or Kirk Cousins being here. You can treat it like that and be as cold as the business is, but at the end of the day, the business thinks much larger than just every single game. You paid for Kirk Cousins for 30, 33, 34 games, something like that, right? You paid for 34 games of Kirk Cousins. You have 33 games left of Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins can end up winning more than 20 games or 25 games over his next 33 games, he hasn't done a terrible job for you. Like, even if he doesn't last through the next season, he still can be serviceable enough for you to be able to inject Michael Penix into your veins. And you know you're going to want it because it's going to be awesome. I mean, Michael Penix Jr. gives you a whole lot of confidence if you're playing with the ones. You know what I'm saying? It's at least exciting to think about. But as someone who also sits here and has to say, and this is a lot, I have to say this more times than I would like to admit that I'm going to say it. But you got to face the reality, which is the Atlanta Falcons, they're tying Michael Penix Jr. to this team's, future success. And to do that, they're thinking of now 33 more games of Kirk Cousins and saying that the investment is $90 million, $45 million a year if you want to be technical. And, regardless of guarantees or not, you're trying to win games. Kirk Cousins gives you the best ability to win games. Oh, but they could have gone to the defensive end and da-da-da. Yeah, I think they could have. I think they could have gone with Kirk Cousins for 2 years and tried to win a Super Bowl right now. But wasn't that the whole point of, re-signing Matt Ryan to a new deal and thinking 2017, 2018, 2019 that you're going to end up and go out there with, a Super Bowl because you had a packed roster and a pretty good offense and you just need to put some defensive pieces together? So, yes, if Kirk Cousins doesn't look good over the next, 5 to 8 games, maybe there is, cause for concern at that point. But I think if you're sitting right here, 5-3 after 8 games or something like that, then we'll have pumped the brakes for the right reasons at the right time. I think that that's important, that maybe pumping the brakes is your way of being able to say, hey, I believe in what, the identity of the team is. It is missing pieces. It is technically overpaid at positions because you're paying for success. So if you're going to sit there and be like, well, if I'm paying for success, I better have success, then you're already a bad boss. You're already someone who doesn't trust, has trust issues about everything. has been burnt too many times, and Falcons fans have been burnt too many times. They are upset. They are straightforward angry. They aren't very trusting. They've lost too many big games. They've lost too many important, valuable pieces, and time after again, they aren't happy. They aren't a happy bunch. They don't get any pleasure. And I think maybe that's also a bit of like looking at the accomplishments of Matt Ryan, of the good Falcons teams who had winning records. Maybe those are the positives. Maybe you look at the Falcons and go, any win is positive, but any winning season should have much heavier weight. I think just the expectations of the city is finally at a fever pitch, much like I think just the general public in general, which is, oh no, like we just want everything to be done now. Everything's got to be finished. Yeah, you've waited a long time. Why can't we have what we want? Yeah, I'm in that same boat with you guys. I'm in the same boat with you guys when it comes to wanting to see the team finally succeed and to be able to hang my hat on something that's not just going to be broken in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if the Eagles end up absolutely destroying the Falcons on live television in front of the entire United States on a Monday night game, then it might end up becoming business as usual. But if the Falcons are competitive, and they're competitive with the Eagles throughout the entire game, and end up actually pulling out a win over the Eagles on Monday Night Football in front of millions and millions of viewers, yes, then we're going to have to probably turn around and say, okay, week 1 was tough because they messed up. They should have had a preseason. This will teach them, as a young coaching staff, this will teach them that you have to use the preseason to be able to start warming your ones up, even if it's just a series. It really comes down to like one series. One series of play may end up being the only series that they end up getting, but it's enough to be able to reactivate the muscles and retrain the brain. Yes, it's time. I know what it means to go out here and go do this, and then halfway through a game, you're not still trying to make adjustments to, I don't know how we're going to stop T.J. Watt and how we're going to stop Highsmith and da-da-da-da-da-da. That's why I'm sitting here and I tell you right now that if the Falcons end up winning a bunch of games, rattling off a bunch of games after this little stretch here, and they end up 5-3, 4-4, something like that, into their first stretch of easy games, or games at least that are much more winnable when it comes down to rosters, the Falcons might end up being a really good team this year, a couple of games removed from what we were originally. So 10 wins, 9 wins, something like that. 9-7, 10-7, 9-8. Yeah, if they can do something like that, then that's success. That's already a push forward. And maybe they do need a little more talent. Maybe they do. I do want to put that piece of information out there, is that I think that people need to really key in on the talent that's currently here. It's serviceable, but it's not deep enough, not nearly deep enough. So I wonder, now that they're starting to give out contracts and they're starting kind of to fill the roster and begin their first couple years of dead money or whatever it may end up turning out to be, I wonder if the Falcons end up kind of stepping back and going, let's just step up into this area that we've created now. At least some breathing room to get the fans to go, yeah, that's it. The Falcons had a lot more positives that we could ever, pretend to talk about. And it gives your fans a real sense of what could potentially be a 2025, 2026 season, whether that be under Kirk or Penix. But I won't pretend that Kirk Cousins is 100%. Nor will I pretend that, the game plan they come out against the Eagles that they're going to use on them is going to end up working. But I hope, for the sake of the new coaching staff and everything that's been put together, that this doesn't continue to go south. Because if this goes south and the Falcons end up in the top 10 again, man, I don't want to really think about it, honestly. Anyway, that was my 2 cents. And I think we're going to stick to that. Injury report on Caleb McGarry. Caleb McGarry has a groin injury. Caleb McGarry, groin injury. Love that. Man, dude, that's crazy. That is when you ask, you receive. So Bergeron was a left tackle. And I think that Bergeron needs to probably stay at left tackle. So I think for now, being the left guard and Matthews being the left tackle is fine enough. But what I seriously considered, because I don't know how this would affect everything, since, guard is guard. Like, it's tough. Like, it's not for the weak. I've always wondered what it would be like to kick Bergeron to left tackle. And this is why you don't need to listen to, Tinfoil Hat Dan. Tinfoil Hat Dan is a bad combination. But take McGarry and move him to right guard. And move Jake Matthews to right tackle. And then move Bergeron to left tackle and move Lindstrom to left guard. It's practically flipping a part of the line and shifting the other part of the line over. Why would you do this? Okay, so Matthews has played right tackle in college. It's not a very good idea to switch somebody from left tackle to right tackle after years of playing left tackle, but it might be a better upgrade than having McGarry there. And then McGarry can sit down at right guard because he's got the size to be able to play it. And with the short arms, he needs to be able to just stop things coming his way like a train. Then move Bergeron to left tackle because he was a left tackle. Effectively giving you your left tackle of the future, right? And then move Lindstrom from right guard, where he's dominated, and move him to left guard because he has just incredible athletic gift. This allows you to play some very, strategic pieces on the left-hand side of the offense that would hold up better for the Falcons, especially in the face of Michael Penix Jr. throwing from his left-hand side. There's your witch hunt of the day. I don't actually believe that. That's one way you could do it, but it's a terrible way. Well, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Rise up and stay grounded. Take it easy. I'll talk to you again soon. It's been fun. Been a lot of fun, dude.